Today I'm going to walk you guys through a mixed media collage project that's really fun. Here's some examples. It's just a charcoal or a pencil drawing on a black and white background with color collage interacting with the drawing. So pretty cool. You can choose whatever you want. Your first step is going to be your background collage, and this is all going to be black and white. You want to take just a regular piece of paper, like a printer piece of paper, 8 by 10, 8 by 11 and a half, or 8.5 by 11. I don't remember the exact details. And you're going to start flipping through some magazines. And you're going to look for places that have like articles, lots of black and white text. See, I'm flipping past a lot of these pictures. It's not stuff that I want to do. I'm not pulling out the prescription ad stuff either, because it says like may cause stomach cramps, and I don't want that on my picture. So I'm just pulling out things where I see a lot of black and white text that I can work with. This magazine doesn't have a lot of black and white text. It has a lot of pictures, and so I'm skipping a lot of it. This magazine's going to come in handy later for the second collage portion. This magazine has a lot more articles, so you can see me pulling out all of these article pieces that have black and white. And done with that. So now I'm going to take my magazines and I'm going to pull off any part that has color or is just white. Or pictures. I just want the black and white text. So by the time I do all that, I'm left with these two pieces, and I'm going to start pulling these apart. I want to keep the jagged edges. I want them to look, they don't want to look uniform like squares or anything. It's all about just pulling, tearing it. And I'm, that text on the side that's in the pink box that I just pulled off, that was really nice text, but I don't want the pink behind the words. I just want black and white. So I'm just tearing up all these little pieces of magazine text. I'm not cutting them with scissors, I'm just tearing things up. It's kind of therapeutic and fun. And like that pink L at the top, how you can see part of it, I'm going to tear that off too. Like make sure that it's not in my way. I'm not going to accidentally put color on my paper. This one was a little tricky because there were these like green subtitles in the middle. So I ended up really having to pull around those, but I got it in the end. And I'm breaking them up into smaller pieces, different sizes. You don't want all of them to be the same size. It looks better if things are just very different. It's fun just to tear up paper for a little bit. But like with anything else in art, there's still a method to it. It's not just tear things up and go. You still have the artistic process behind it, where you have to understand what you're doing, what you're looking for, what your end result needs to be. I know that this second magazine, it tore a little bit different. It also is a little bit whiter than the other one. The other one is a little bit more of a yellow white, but that's okay. The different colors is okay. I've sped this up so much. And it's still got a lot of dead space watching me tear up all this stuff. But I hope this helps you to understand um, exactly how to tear these things up and what you're looking for. Getting text messages. All right, now you're going to take your piece of paper, and I'm taking a glue stick. You can actually use regular school glue if you want to. And you're going to just start sticking. You're just going to start sticking your little pieces of paper down. Put glue down and stick your paper. I'm not worried about all of the other edges. I'll show y'all how to fix that in a minute. All I'm worried about is just getting this whole paper covered. You can use a little foam brush like I have, or a paintbrush, to help smear things down if you don't like the glue touching your hands. But your goal is to cover this whole piece of paper with these little torn up pieces of text. It just provides a really cool looking background. And I'm just putting more glue on. Now you can see I put another piece of paper under there. That was just to keep the glue off my table, but I do have to keep pulling the top paper off of the bottom paper because it was getting stuck. So just make sure if you put something underneath that you're pulling that top paper up a little bit every so often, so it's not getting glued to the thing you're putting underneath it. I am also starting to let my pieces of paper kind of hang off of the edge of the paper. That way, later on, when I'm done with the entire project, I can just cut off the paper that's hanging off the edge, but that way I know my whole paper is covered. I'm going to fix my camera a lot. There's lots of like glue clumps getting on the paper underneath, and I'm trying to smear them or pick them up so that they're just not sticking to my top paper. Like I said, it seems really simple to do this, but there's still a method, and you still need to be neat and clean and think about what you're doing, not just slamming things on the paper. You need to have control over yourself while you're doing stuff like this, because it's really easy to not have control. It gets really easy to not have control for sure when you're just throwing torn up pieces of paper on another piece of paper with glue. Like I said before, you can use regular school glue, the liquid glue. You can use that for this too. I'm using the glue stick and the liquid glue. You're going to see in a minute how I'm using the liquid glue. Right now I'm just going around the edges and making sure that there is no piece of the white paper underneath showing at all. Alright, so now I've finished that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do something called decoupage, where we take glue and we are going to cover the surface of our entire paper with the glue. It's going to glue down a lot of those edges that were sticking up. It's going to give us like a really nice, solid, smooth surface to work with when we do our second collage portion of this. I'm using the brush to start off with because it helps me to spread the glue out to a lot of the places first. Later on I do come in with my finger, but first I use the little thing. You could just go straight in with your finger, but what you want to focus on is getting all like the little edges that are lifting up just pushed down and glued down. So decoupage is when you take something and you put a layer of glue or Mod Podge over the top of it so that it sticks completely to the surface. It's a type of collage. Like I said, you have to have control. This is not just about, you know, dribbling glue all over the place and smearing it everywhere. You need to be thinking about where you need it. You need to have control about where you're putting it. So now I'm going in with my finger and I'm fixing some of the areas that I see bubbling up or that are still curling up. And now you can see I'm putting a lot of glue everywhere, and this is a really thick layer of glue. It's a very thick layer of glue. I got the little areas glued down pretty well with the brush in the beginning, and now I'm really just putting a solid layer of glue over the top of everything so that it's a very smooth surface when it's done. I find that my finger works best, and I'm using little circular motions, and if I find anything bubbling or trying to jump up, I glue it down. So the next step is going to be to draw your picture that you want. So I have my paper and I am going to draw a coffee mug, and I have the coffee mug put up on my screen on my computer, and I'm going to draw just coffee. The collage would be coffee dribbling down into the mug. So what you want to make sure is that you're using your space wisely. So this is the same size paper that we used for the collage that we did for the background. So you want to make sure that your drawing is small enough on that paper that it can interact with your color collages you're going to do later. So I'm starting to draw my coffee mug. Just going in with a simple outline. Remember, draw light till you know it's right. Just a simple outline. And once I've got the outline down, I'm going to go in and solidify that outline by making it darker. Just making those lines darker and more bold because I know what I've drawn. I know what I want to be there. So that's what you're seeing right now. And the next step is to go in and start figuring out the shading. And that's the most important part of this little section, is that you're going to shade it to be as realistic looking as you can get. You're going to put a lot of value into it with black and white because it's going to provide us a contrast with the colored collage that we're going to add later on. And I have that reference picture pulled up, so I'm just trying my best to put the shadows and highlights in the same places that I see on my reference picture. Notice I went in lighter and I'm building to darker as I go, rather than just going dark straight out of the gate. You always want to work in layers. Layers are great in art because it's easier to take a lighter layer away than it is to take a very dark layer away. And I'm blending larger areas with my finger. Just trying to keep that value as constant as you can. But larger areas you can blend with your finger. I'm getting a Q-tip now to do the smaller areas. It helps a lot with the little detailed areas to use a Q-tip for blending. Now I'm going to go in with my eraser and pull out areas that are highlighted. So areas that have brighter value on the mug. I'm bringing in with my eraser, and I'm using my Q-tip to kind of just blend those highlights in. Blend, blend, blend. Now you're going to cut it out. Be careful when you're cutting it out though. You want to do a really nice job of cutting it out. You want to be very, very careful. Now that main big bold outline, I kind of cut off. Because if you think about an object, you don't see the outline of the object. The object just kind of is there because like you see the edges because it's an edge. You don't necessarily see the line. So I'm kind of cutting off those big outlines, making sure it's very nice. Now this handle, you fold it over, make a little snip in there. You do some relief cuts that are going to help you get around that circle or that shape. So whenever you're trying to cut in the center of something, you can fold it in half and do a little relief cut in the center, and it'll help you get in there. And that's it. There's my mug.